a judge in Florida denied the opportunity of a teenager to obtain an abortion because of her grades. Because of her grades. Let me give you some background to this insanity. Put up the judge full mass here, okay? That's Judge Jared Smith. Judge Jared Smith actually made headlines when he denied a teenager an abortion because she wasn't mature enough with only having B grades. In Florida, teenagers need parental consent to get an abortion. But if they can't get permission, there's a procedure called judicial bypass. Minors can go before a judge to ask permission for a waiver that allows them to have an abortion without parental involvement. Unfortunately, at least 36 states require this kind of parental involvement in their healthcare decision. The 17-year-old girl, we'll call her Jane Doe, appeared in Smith's Hillsborough County courtroom at the start of this year. In his initial ruling, Judge Smith said the girl was inconsistent because at one point she said she was getting B's but had a 2.0 grade point average. She wrote that her testimony, either a lack of intelligence or credibility, either which weighs against a finding of maturity pursuant to the statute. That's what he said. According to the appellate findings, however, the girl did not intentionally inflate her grades. Two different adults just asked her slightly different worded questions about her grades. At worst, her testimony created ambiguity that neither questioner explored. The 2-1 decision reported. Well, as of Tuesday night this week, that judge was ousted by the voters. Let's put up the person that took his place. Nancy L. Jacobs beat Smith by nearly 8,000 votes in the low turnout election. So he is no more. Florida judicial elections are non-partisan, meaning the judges are not registered under a party still. There was an indication of partisan divide in the outcome. Jacobs solidly won the mail-in vote, 63,226 to 48,702, a trend seen among Democratic-leaning voters. Smith only marginally won with the day of voting, typically a Republican-heavy voting day. All right, once again, insane rules, insane laws, and insane dynamics connected to abortion rights in the United States of America. Here's the reality. Obviously, that judge, off his rocker, glad he's not in position of power any longer. But let's be very clear about what's happening in this country. You have a non-ruling party that's ruling everything. The Republican Party, they do not match the sentiment of the everyday American. Most Americans agree with left-leaning policies line by line. When Republicans present a policy, most Americans disagree with it. When Republicans pass a law, most Americans disagree with it. However, they are still an effective minority. They are still basically leading the charge. Our politics on the left-leaning side has become very reactionary to the dynamic of Republican or conservative politics. It should be the other way around, especially in this kind of political climate. What are conservatives doing better than Democrats? Messaging, pure and simple, messaging. They don't have ideas, they don't have true strategic value, but they do have messaging. They can all get on the same page, echo the same lie, and get the masses to believe them. That's one dynamic, very different. Jackson, thoughts on this case?
Yeah, so basically this guy, what he did, and again, good thing he got ousted, but basically he made a value judgment based on nothing but prejudice instead of really weighing the consequences to arrive at a rational decision. And his decision was an oxymoron within itself because the premise was, well, she's not responsible. She's not doing that well in school. She doesn't seem to be in line with her words, so she should have a child. When really it would be based on the conservative value judgment system that he apparently was operating on. If you deemed her to be more of a responsible person, then she probably would make for a better mother. So again, it's just about punishing people. But the thing is that this is gonna, it may be a little slow, but it's gonna erode support of just, people who aren't in crazy MAGA land type conservatives away from the Republican Party. Because the reversal of Roe doesn't discriminate against who it hurts. So as regular everyday people in conservative, states are facing situations like this, or where their daughters are dying and stuff, that's inevitably gonna erode support away from the party. Yeah. So that's the situation.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope Democrats understand the messaging dynamic connected to this, because truly this is an adversarial policy, not just for those that lean left, but for everybody who believes in a woman's right to choose.